I used to believe that hard work could buy love, that if I just sent enough money, called often enough, and proved myself again and again, maybe my parents would finally look at me the way they looked at my sister. But love isn't bought, and sometimes the more you give, the less they value you. When I left home at 23, I had nothing but a second-hand suitcase and a cheap phone that lost signal every time it rained. My parents said, "Don't expect us to rescue you when you fail. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." So I didn't. I found 2 jobs, one at a diner during the day, one cleaning offices at night. Most days I slept 3 hours, my uniform still damp from mopping floors. But every month I sent them money, rent money, grocery money, sometimes even more than I could afford. They never said thank you. Instead, Mom would text, "You're late again. We can't rely on you for anything." Dad would add, "Maybe if you worked harder, you'd actually get somewhere." I'd smile through the pain, tell them I'd do better, and go back to wiping counters till dawn. There was a time I believed they needed it, that my sacrifices meant something. I'd picture them sitting at the kitchen table, eating food I helped pay for, keeping warm through a winter I made easier. It gave me purpose. Until the day everything cracked. It started at my cousin's wedding. I hadn't seen my family in years. I saved for the train ticket, borrowed a simple dress, and carried a gift, a small photo frame for my mom. When I walked into the reception hall, I saw them. My parents at the center table, my sister draped in gold and praise, telling everyone about her new boutique. I felt nervous but proud. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see how far I'd come. But as I approached, I heard my aunt say, "It's a shame about your older daughter. Such a disappointment." My mother didn't correct her. She leaned in and said, "We do what we can for her, but she refuses to work. She's been living off us for years." The words hit like glass. I froze, tray of drinks wobbling in my hands. They didn't see me, or maybe they did, and just didn't care. My father sighed dramatically. "We send her money every month," he said, "and she still can't stand on her own." Laughter spread across the table. Even my sister smirked. "She always had a victim complex," she said lightly. "Maybe she just likes pretending she's struggling." I wanted to scream, to shout the truth, that it was me paying their bills, me skipping meals so they could have comfort. But my voice caught somewhere between my chest and throat. I just stood there, the invisible provider turned ghost in her own story. Later, my cousin found me outside behind the hall, shivering in the cold. "Lena," she whispered, "I didn't know they said that. You don't deserve this." I smiled weakly because I had no tears left. But inside, something shifted, quiet, sharp, permanent. That was the night I stopped begging to be loved, and the night I started planning to make them see the truth, not with anger, but with undeniable proof. The next morning, I didn't cry. I went back to the city, clocked in for my shift at the diner, and served coffee with shaking hands. But something inside me had changed. I no longer wanted their approval. I wanted to take back every hour of sleep I lost, every dollar I sent, every time I lied and said, "It's okay, Mom, I understand." It wasn't okay, and I finally didn't want to understand anymore. I didn't confront them, not yet. That's the thing about betrayal. When it's this deep, the best revenge is always quiet and planned. I stopped sending money first, no explanation, no warning. At first, they thought it was a bank glitch. Then they sent me messages like, "Mom, you forgot this month again. Your sister needs help paying for her shop's new banner." "Dad, don't act like we didn't raise you. You owe us." I left them on red. It was strangely satisfying. Then I worked harder. Not for them. For me. I picked up freelance bookkeeping on the side, saved every tip, ate canned soup for weeks to pay off my debt, and quietly, I started building a new life. I got promoted at the cleaning job. The manager said, "You're always the last to leave, Lena. We see that." It was the first time in years anyone saw me, not as a burden, not as a wallet, but as a person. I started walking taller, but my family? They couldn't survive my silence. They started calling my work. The diner manager came over one day, confused. She says she's your mom, he whispered. She was crying, said you've gone missing. I laughed. Out loud. It was a strange, broken sound, and I had to step into the back freezer to stop from completely losing it. When I didn't call them back, they turned to Facebook. Status updates like, "Pray for our daughter. She's cut us off. We're heartbroken." And relatives who believed them commented things like, "You raised her too soft." These new kids have no loyalty. They had spent years telling people I was lazy, dependent, useless. Now that I was gone, they were painting themselves as victims. But I wasn't done yet. That week, my cousin messaged me in secret. The same cousin who'd seen my parents slander me at the wedding. "Lena," she wrote, "your mom's been telling everyone you're in rehab." "What?" I typed. "She said you have a spending problem, that you blew through the money they gave you and vanished." I could have screamed, but I didn't. Instead, I uploaded my real story to a private blog. Receipts, screenshots, pay stubs, messages showing I'd sent thousands, photos of my tiny room, my double shifts, the sacrifices I made. My cousin helped share it, quietly. It started to spread in the family. Aunt Linda messaged me first. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. We had no idea." Then Uncle Joe. Then 2 of my sister's former friends. They emailed me, saying she used my money to fund her boutique while claiming it came from a silent investor. I had been the investor. Without credit, without thanks. Suddenly the tide was turning. My mother texted me in all caps, "How dare you humiliate us?" Then my sister added, "I hope you're happy ruining our reputation." And for the first time in my life, I felt peace. Not out of revenge, but because they finally felt a fraction of the shame they'd buried me under for years. But the final twist came when my company posted an employee spotlight about me. I was Employee of the Month. It went semi-viral locally. From janitor to senior bookkeeper in 3 years. The power of perseverance. The article included a line about how I supported my family for years while working 2 jobs. My parents couldn't run from it anymore. They showed up at my apartment. Yes. Actually came. My dad had the audacity to say, "Can we talk? We just want to explain." I opened the door halfway. My mom looked at me like I was a stranger. Her makeup flawless, her posture fake. But her voice cracked when she said, "You embarrassed us. You could have kept things quiet." And I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You could have loved me. But you chose your pride instead." I closed the door slowly. And this time, I didn't cry. I sat down with a warm cup of tea, looked out at the city skyline, and whispered, "I finally have peace, and you can't take it from me anymore." 6 months later, my name was on the door of my new office. Lena Hart, financial consultant. I'd gone from scrubbing toilets at dawn to managing accounts for 3 local businesses, and I wasn't stopping there. I was building something that no one could tear down. I moved into a cozy little apartment. Nothing big, but it was mine. The first thing I did was hang a framed copy of that employee spotlight article on my wall. Beneath it, a sticky note with 4 words. "They don't define you." I made new friends, real ones. A woman named Jordan from the diner introduced me to her book club. We read stories of strong women rising from ashes, and every time I turned a page, I felt like I was writing my own, but the story wasn't over. One day, while volunteering at a community center to teach budgeting to teen girls, I heard a voice I hadn't expected. "Lena?" I turned. It was my sister, hair perfect, nails glossy. But her eyes were different now, rimmed with guilt. Tired. I didn't know you'd be here," she said quietly. I didn't say anything. She walked up slowly, avoiding eye contact. "Mom and Dad, they still tell people you're difficult, that you turned your back on us." I smiled softly. "I didn't turn my back," I said. "I just stopped crawling." She swallowed hard. "I know what they did to you. I watched, and I didn't stop them." I nodded. "I know." She hesitated, reached into her bag, handed me an envelope. "This is half of what you gave me. I sold the boutique. I didn't deserve it." I took it, not out of spite, but because it symbolized something bigger, closure. She started crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I wish I could undo it all." I looked at her and said something I never thought I would. "You can't undo the past, but you can stop pretending it didn't happen." And I walked away, not out of anger, but with peace. Not every wound needs revenge. Some just need to finally stop bleeding. Months passed. My blog, the one I had written to tell my story, was picked up by a popular financial magazine. They reached out, asked if I'd be open to sharing more publicly. A segment aired on TV titled, "From Trash to Triumph, the Woman Who Rebuilt Without Her Family's Love." The reaction was overwhelming. Women from all over the country messaged me. This was my story too. "Thank you for speaking what I couldn't say. You helped me leave a toxic home." And I realized then, this wasn't just about me anymore. This was bigger than one betrayal. I had become a voice, a mirror for every girl who was told she was less than, too much, a waste, a burden. And I wasn't going to stop. I started a podcast called Silent Daughter Loud Life. Every week, I told a new story, mine or someone else's, and helped women find their power again. As for my parents, they stopped trying to contact me. Eventually, I heard they moved to Florida. My sister kept her distance, but we sometimes exchanged short, honest messages. No more pretending. One night, I sat on my balcony with tea, the skyline twinkling, wind cool on my face. And I whispered to myself, not out of bitterness, but as a soft promise to the girl I once was. "You gave everything to people who gave you nothing, and still, you rose. Now, it's your turn to receive." I didn't need revenge. I needed freedom. And I had it. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.